Hello, Gordon here with the Great Gordino newsletter, September the 30th, 2018. Google's birthday. Google was 20 this week, except it wasn't. And that's what this newsletter is about, because they had it as one of their Google Doodles, which sometimes caused a talking point, and it's caused a talking point this week because it's something I'm going to talk about. So Google had its 20th birthday this week, and I wrote about this a few years ago actually as well, because it was a point that was valid then and it's valid today. Google, a bit like, they've sort of got two birthdays, a bit like the Queen. They changed the date of their own birthday a few years ago. And they did it for various PR reasons. I'm not entirely sure why. But the point is, if Google says it's their birthday, or you Google Google's birthday and you find out the date, it's not true. It's wrong. Now, obviously, if you look a bit further into it, you'll find out that Google say so themselves. It's not something they try to deny or cover up, by the way. But the point is, to find that out, that Google's birthday actually wasn't this week, it was a few weeks ago, you need to Google it and research it yourself. So the point could be summed up as, don't believe everything you see on the internet or everything you see in Google. And there's a few classic examples that I see on Facebook, for example, regularly. Three examples I'm going to go with. One of them is that there's a picture of a shark, I think it's a great white shark, splashing as it jumps out of the ocean. An award-winning photograph from a photographer from the National Geographic. And it's fake, it's completely not true. And in fact, I researched it, and one of the answers saying it was fake said if you zoom in on it, above one of the eyes, that you can, the gills, you can clearly see where it's photoshopped not particularly well. And the National Geographic say there's no such photographer exists that's named, there's no such award. It's completely fake. So does that cause anyone any harm? Well, not really. But nevertheless, people share it. It's been shared over and over again, and I still see it shared, and it's not true. Another one I see a lot, which I've written about, is a bullfighter sitting down at the side of the ring with a bull next to him. And it said this is where a bullfighter broke down in tears in the ring and retired there and then about what he was doing to the bull. Not true. The bullfighter named is not the one in the photo. The one in the photo is not doing what people say he's doing in the photo. So it's not true. People use it to make their point about how horrific bullfighting is and it should be banned. That's a separate point. The point I'm making is they use this image to make their point, and the image is not true. And the third example is one about MPs' debates or MPs' votes in the House of Commons, where they'll show a virtually empty chamber and say this is them debating child poverty. And then they'll show a packed chamber. So this is then when it comes to MPs' expenses. And again, a lot of these are not true. They're either not debates, or they're not votes on legislation, or they're the wrong post pictures from history. The parties are on the wrong side, or the speaker's not in the chair. Various ways of telling that the image is not what the meme says it's about. And what I found is that when I say to people that that's not true, it's actually this. Or with the bullfighter, that's not true, it's actually this. People then say, oh, that doesn't matter, it's the point that matters. Right, well, hang on. The point may matter. I'm not saying the point doesn't matter. What I'm saying is you're using a specific image to make that specific point. So then it does matter if the specific image is wrong. Particularly, for example, if you're talking about politicians and politicians lying, and fake news, if you're using a fake picture or a false picture to make that point, the point doesn't, it completely nullifies the point, because you're doing what you're criticising politicians for doing. It just doesn't work, does it? Which is why I do tend to point it out, not to get one over on people or to say no, but just to spread the correction, because those three examples are ones that I see a lot and will see again. It won't be the last time I've seen any of those three. And in fact, next time you see one of those, you might smile and think, hang on, I know that's not true anymore. So if these things are being shared that aren't true, and that's the case, it drives home the point about checking something. If I see something that's got a fact or a point that I think I might share, I will check it first rather than just hitting the share button. And if I post something and someone says that's not true, I will then go and check if it's true or not. And here's the other thing I like to say. If I'm checking something, whether it's true or not, and I might go to Google, how about checking 3 sources? Don't just go to the first result, check that one and think, oh, it must be true because it said so in the first result in Google. People can play the search results or pay the search results. So they might be the first result because they've played the search engine game, or they're paying to have their results sponsored. And a lot of people don't realise where it says sponsored by the result listing that someone's paid for that. So use 3 sources. I quite like Wikipedia because Wikipedia is a community-driven directory of information. So people can flag up if something is wrong, or people can flag up if something is unverified and needs verifying. And if it's a story about someone, then maybe use Wikipedia, maybe use that person's own website, see what they've got to say, and then maybe use a recognised journalism vehicle, like a paper, your paper of choice, for example. Go to your paper of choice's website and type the name or the subject into that and see what that comes up with. So you're looking at 3 different sources when you're trying to check information online. Don't just go to the first one in Google, because Google themselves are wrong when they say that it was their birthday this week. And I say they admit it themselves, but it makes me laugh, and wow, it drives home the point. And I've been saying that for years. In fact, I looked on my own blog. I wrote about it back in September 2014. And here's the thing. That doesn't just apply to the internet. How about offline as well? If someone tells you something offline, well, who says so? Check that it's true. Someone might tell you something very confidently, maybe with an intimidation that you'd better believe it, or that you have to believe it because they say so. Well, don't be afraid to question back or to go and check with someone else. Particularly if it comes to someone telling you something about yourself. If someone says to you, oh, you can't do that, or you should do that. Well, are you thinking to yourself, well, it's got to be true then. I can't do this, I should do that because so-and-so says so. Or are you saying, well, hang on, who says? Who says I can't do that? Who says I should do that? Maybe I should check these things with other people rather than just one person. And by the way, maybe I should check it with myself, check my own beliefs and my own actions. So there's a real life point in there, isn't there? Offline, not just checking facts online, which can be serious, by the way, certainly important. But the offline point about self-improvement and personal development and goal achievement most certainly is important. Right, so there we are. I saw that obviously during the week on Google, and it was a talking point that I thought I would cover for this week's newsletter because it's an important point. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you share things without checking them first. And if so, are you open to someone maybe saying, well, hang on, that's not quite true? And then you would go off and do your own research on the basis that you might have been wrong. And if you do your own research, are you trying 3 different sources to see if they all add up, or to see if they say the same, or to see if they say different things? And when it comes to offline, if someone tells you that you can't do something or that you should do something, do you just believe it and take that at face value, or do you check and analyse and have a good old think about what they're saying as well as listening to what they're saying? I'm not saying you should always absolutely ignore everyone. Of course not, that would be silly. But check, don't be afraid to doubt, to question, to check. Right, hope all is well with you, mentally and physically. Wishing you as ever health and happiness. Let me know what you think, and I will speak to you again soon.